Hi guys, I'm Oliver Lundy, I'm an automotive photographer from the UK, and today I'm here in Red Baboon Studios just outside Bradford, and we're shooting a Caterham 7 and an Aston Martin Vantage, and I'm here with Mark McGee behind the camera and Adam Ward Images. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you all the different types of lighting effects that you can get in a studio setting. So we're going to be using multiple light setups, we're going to be using light painting, we're going to be using backlighting, we're going to be using smoke and coloured lights, we're going to be doing all sorts, and what you should hopefully see is that there is a huge range of stuff that you can get when you have access to a studio space that not only has all of these cool walls that you can use to bounce lights off and get a nice high key look. You can also get low key looks just by turning everything down, and you can also throw in colour and smoke and get all kinds of awesome looks. So let's crack on right now. Okay guys, so for this first setup, we're going to do a couple of different things. Now with shooting in a studio and with shooting with lights, you've got so many different options that quite often it's good to set up the car or the thing you're shooting at whatever angle you think is best for this particular shot, and then light it in lots of different ways, because then when you get into post, you've got the most amount of options available for your editing decisions. Whether you use all of them or not is irrelevant as long as you've got them. So it's better to overshoot it than to undershoot it, and generally speaking you want to start off by lighting the car and how that's going to look, or by starting off at the background and then work one way or the other. So for this particular shot, what we're going to do is we're going to backlight it with a constant LED light. We're going to chuck some smoke in there. We're going to add some colour. We're going to go with blue as a complementary colour to the yellow of the car. So we're going to have some blue smoke coming up from behind the back of the car. The rest of the room's going to be dark, so the car's going to be dark. We're going to get a shot with the headlights on, so the headlights should be coming through the smoke, and then we will also then separately light the car, so that if we want to light up the car evenly and properly within the final image, then you can do either or both. Sound good? Agreed. Agreed.
So let's talk about that shot we just did with the wand light passing over the top.
Yep.
Success or fail?
Yeah, I think it looks good. The problem that we've got in this setting with the white surround, the light wand was actually lighting up the whole space rather than actually just picking out the roof line, which it normally does if you're in a dark environment. But we won't know until you actually get it into post and you start layering it up and you see how it actually impacts the image. And what you can do, and this is common with all kind of light painting or layering up when you're building up these images of multiple images or multiple frames, is that you might have to cut out the silhouette of the car, have it loaded as a selection, and then only use that part of the image. So it might be that the overall look of the car with the light wand looks really good, but only the car, not the background. So you then have to cut that out and then select which parts of which image you want. Sure. Which is why top tip is actually to remember that you always want to have a base plate or what you want the background to look like, and that should include where you want the shadow of the car to fall. So if you've got a light source in the image from up here, and that's going to be your dominant light source, then it makes no sense if the shadow also comes this way. So you want to think about your shadow if you're even going to have one or not. So in a studio shoot like we've got here, there's not really going to be many shadows because we're lighting it from multiple directions. Yeah. So the only shadow you're going to see is the one immediately under the car. Sure. So it's just thinking about those things. Yeah. Okay, so how do you put these shots together? So from this one, we've got the base image here, and as you can see, it's quite dark. And this is just the in-camera shot of the environment, so with the smoke and the headlights and everything else. And then I've also put it into this, the light painted shot. So this is the end result, or the in camera, out of camera result of the light paint shot, as you can see, being passed over the top there with this light trail. But obviously we don't want any of that. We don't want to have anything around the car, so we don't want to see any of this background at all, because we only want the car to be, or the highlights of the car that have been picked up from the light to be showing through. So when you change the blending mode of this to lighten, what you can then do is then mask out the car, and what you end up with is this final image where, as you can see, the highlight across the top of the car really highlights the car, makes the car pop out. And then all I've done is just darken off some of the areas, just to try and reduce anything that I don't think needs to be shown. So as you can see, sort of towards the bottom edge of the car, it's all dark, and that kind of makes it sit a little bit better inside this environment. But I was really happy with how this final image came out, and it's a relatively simple process to go in and mask out what you don't want from the light painted image onto the dark sort of base image, or where your shadows are going to be. So we're going to swap the cars out now, and one of the things that we're going to go for with the Aston is the kind of classic studio look, where every part of the car is as evenly lit as we can possibly get it. We're going to be using bounce into the ceiling, we're going to be using a 180-degree setup with lights on either side, and we're probably going to be using LED panels to pick out any other parts of the cars, like the wheels, that we want to light that aren't quite exposed correctly. This is like the super clean classic studio look. It's a bit finicky in that you've got to spend some time to make sure that every part of the car is lit evenly, but the results are really good when you get it right. And you can normally then comp that into a composition with a different background, so you can then pick out a background that suits the overall look that you're going for, and you can try lots of different ones as long as the perspectives line up reasonably well. And then we'll also try a bunch of different light setups, where we're going to do minimal lighting, smaller lighting, backlighting, smoke, all that stuff as well. Okay, so we did a few different setups there, and this is the first one that we did, and this is the kind of classic studio shot that we were talking about before. Trying to get the car as evenly lit as possible, and trying to make sure that there's no unnecessary shadows. And the high key look of the studio look comes out well. And what this does for you is it gives you lots and lots of options. So with this particular photo, I don't think it looks bad at all, with the kind of the relatively high key look of a bright white studio. But what I wanted to do is actually cut the car out and then give it a much darker, moodier vibe with this kind of smoky, dark environment, kind of reminiscent of the DB9 scene in Casino Royale, where he comes over the top of that hill and then crashes it. So the method for this is actually quite involved. Effectively just using the pen tool to cut out the car, and then putting in a different background, which in this case is just a plain black background, using lots of smoke and fog overlays to create that kind of the look of the background, and then using a textured concrete texture just to create the floor, and then darkening down the car where the shadows would be, just to try and situate it properly in the frame. So this is the kind of flexibility that having a really well lit base image gives you, because you can do whatever you like with the car once you've captured it in that way. So that was setup number one. Setup number two was this side profile shot. The Vantage is such a classic, front engine, rear wheel drive, two-door coupe. It's a really timeless design, and I wanted to capture that. And again, this is the out of camera shot in the studio. So as you can see, we're bouncing a light off of this floating ceiling panel to try and light the car as evenly as possible, and then we've got a light on the right and the left of the car, just trying to eliminate any kind of uneven lighting. So with this one, there's lots of options you can do with this, but here's the ones that I did. So effectively, I did a dark edit, much like the previous one, kind of isolate the car within a kind of dark environment, and then an even more darker one where I've actually used the light painting shot that we used for this one, and then just darkened off everything else to just give that kind of roof line minimalist edit. And I really like this in the sense of it's very minimalist, and it really just highlights that roof line. And yeah, I love doing this on certain cars, and this is definitely one of them. And then this is just another version, just with more atmosphere and more smoke added, just to try and give it some a different vibe. And then finally one with all the coloured smoke that we actually got. So this was 3 different exposures. One for the background, so for the smoke in the background. Then a light paint pass with a pink LED light going from front to rear, and then a blue LED light going from rear to front, and then just blending them all in Photoshop just to create this look, and then adding the shadow in, just to sort of again try and make it look a little bit more real. I really like how this came out. I think that the colours really pop, and that the kind of the fact that the mirrors and the wheels have gone completely to black just highlights that body shape again. So I was really happy with that one. And then this again just shows you the difference between you know, a kind of standard lighting setup where you're just trying to capture the car in good lighting, and what you can then do with it in post. So when we blended this shot with another shot that we took with a much with no light and just some red smoke in the background, the car really pops off, or it doesn't pop off the background. I think the car looks menacing. I think that it really highlights what this car looks like from the front, especially in that kind of when it's coming up behind you in your rear view mirror type vibe. And obviously the red adds to that kind of menacing, evil look. So I was really happy with how this one came out as well. So back to the studio.
Okay guys, I hope that's been really useful for you. I hope that this shows you that you can get all sorts of different looks just by using different lighting setups, and I hope that this has given you some insights into how you go about this and some of the looks that you can get. If you have any questions about anything that we've done today, then do drop me a comment and ask. I do try to get back to everyone who drops a comment, and if you did get something from this, please do drop me a thumbs up. It really helps with the algorithm. Subscribe for more videos. Go and check out the accounts of Mark and Adam. I'm going to put their links in the description because they're awesome photographers and you'll get a lot from them, and I'll see you in the next one.